Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and get started today. If you have any questions as we go through, go ahead and use the Q&A box to send in any of those questions. That's what I'll be looking at as we go through today to answer questions. So today's webinar is our monthly new partner introduction. So this has been designed for new partners or new to resellers who sell Zyxel who aren't really familiar with us. The idea behind this is to give you a high-level overview of all the different products we offer and give you a little bit background on who we are. So we're not going to go too in depth on anything. So if there's something in here that piques your interest, make a note of it, and then reach out to me or reach out to your salesperson, and they can give you some more information. We have a number of other webinars we do throughout the month that cover a lot of these topics in more in depth. So take a look at those as well and see if there's one of those you might want to join. So we'll just start with a little bit of background on Zyxel. So we've been doing this since 1989 here in Southern California, as well as our headquarters in Taiwan. We were founded in 1989. We've got a little over 100 million devices deployed out in the field. We serve 150 different global markets. In the US, our headquarters is in Anaheim, California. That's our warehouse, that's our sales team, that's our marketing team, and that's also our tech support team. So when you call in for tech support, you are talking to an actual Zyxel employee located here at our headquarters. If you're here today, you're probably already part of our partner program, but just to highlight here some of the highlights of what's part of that partner program. It gets you deal registration and partner discounts based on your partner level. You will get discounts automatically applied at distribution. You also have the ability to register deals for additional discounts as well as locking in those discounts exclusively to you. Most of our products come with a lifetime warranty. When you call into tech support, you do get yourself priority access to the tech support queue. So as a partner, you have a separate line that you dial into to save you some time waiting in line. So our channel product portfolio here includes security appliances, wireless solutions, switches, hotspot gateways, routers, things like that, as well as various different network management tools. So we'll start today by talking a little bit about our security line. Our security line, we have a number of different lines of security products and it gets a little bit confusing. So hopefully today we won't confuse you too much more than necessary. So one thing I want to highlight here is ICSA Labs. They've been around for a long time and we have had our security gateway product certified by ICSA Labs for 20 years in a row now. They certify us both for the firewall gateway security as well as VPN security. When it comes to UTM services on our security products, we do not do the UTM ourselves in-house, unlike some of our competition. So instead, what we do is we partner with the best in the industry. So we've partnered with guys such as McAfee, WebRoot, Trend Micro, Bitdefender, et cetera, to provide those UTM services. So when looking at our security lines, most of these features I'm going to highlight today are available on most models, although in some cases here on some of our lower end models, or some of these might be only on certain ones, but for the most part, what I'm going to talk about here today is on most of our gateways. So the ability to do VPN high availability. So if one tunnel goes down, data is automatically routed over the other tunnel. The ability to do WAN load balancing, including active-active WAN load balancing. The ability to do support multiple WAN interfaces. We have virtual tunnel interface. So it allows you to trunk VPNs together to do load balancing that way across your VPNs. We offer a SSL VPN secure extender. So instead of having to set up IPsec or L2TP, you can use SSL for remote access for desktop computers, including Windows and Mac. We support L2TP over IPsec for mobile devices. We have an easy VPN, making it really easy to set up remote access, as well as being able to connect multiple sites together. And then on the UTM side of things, most of our products offer antivirus, content filtering, layer 7 application intelligence. So this allows you to set your firewall policy routes based on individual application or specific functions of those applications, just using pull down menus, not having to worry about things like, ports and protocols and stuff like that. Our ATP series offers sandboxing and machine learning to capture zero-day exploits. We have botnet and malware blockers, IDP, a reputation filter, which scores reputations based on the IP address the traffic is coming from. And most of our models also offer an integrated wireless LAN controller, so you don't have to buy a separate wireless LAN controller to manage access points, and the ability to provide hospitality functionality for whether it be something small like a coffee shop up to a small to medium-sized hotel with captive portal and things like that. Some other functionality we have here includes the ability to do link aggregation groups. Some models include High Availability Pro for active passive mode here, SSL packet inspection, and Radius and Active Directory integration. We are also certified to work with both AWS and Microsoft's Azure to provide a private VPN functionality. So basically your cloud hosted services are connected via VPN directly to our gateway. So for your LAN users, it appears that these services that you're running that are hosted in the cloud are available on the local network. So we'll start by talking about some of the different models. So the first one is our VPN series. So these are our products for those of you that don't need UTM functionality. They're optimized to be able to provide high-speed VPN connectivity in a lot of different tunnels. These models also are the ones that can be upgraded to provide SD-WAN functionality. So if you're looking for SD-WAN, the VPN series is where you're looking. So you can see here, we start off with our VPN 2S on the low end side of things here. Move up to the 20 series, the VPN 50, all the way up to the VPN 1000. So in general, once we get to the 20 up to the 1000, the primary differences are the configuration of the ports and the throughput that each device is capable of, both the firewall throughput and the VPN throughput. Those are going to be your main differences. So when you're speccing it out and trying to determine which model you need, those are the main things you're going to be looking at. And this is going to hold true across most of our different firewall lines we talk about today. The primary difference inside the line, with the exception maybe of the first one or two lower end models, the primary difference is just going to be the port configuration and how much horsepower it has. So when you're speccing it out, plan out how many users you need, how fast is your internet connection, what sort of throughput do you need, and that can help you determine which model it is that you need for your opportunity. So I do want to talk a little bit here about SD-WAN functionality. So SD-WAN is primarily being used to replace, what is it called? MLPS connections, dedicated connections that you would buy and pay your telco ridiculous amounts of money to connect multiple locations together. So with SD-WAN, we're talking about connecting these different locations together using VPN. You go, well, Sean, you know, every device does VPN, which is true. So SD-WAN has a number of little fun tweaks that we make because we control both ends that allow us to dramatically improve the speed, reliability of these connections between different locations. So for the end users, basically, it's adding extra scalability, increased security, the ability to host certain things in a cloud or more specifically at a data center or a location, and then have those tools be available to every other location. We see a lot of demand for SD-WAN for doing IP PBX, where the IP PBX is being hosted in one location, but every location needs to use that IP PBX. SD-WAN makes a huge difference when it comes to VoIP over VPN and solves a number of the issues that you run into. And our SD-WAN solution here also makes it easier for you to manage these VPNs, monitor them, and keep them up. So SD-WAN is giving you the ability to optimize TCP, basically gives you TCP acceleration. TCP in general is designed to slow down as it encounters problems. By controlling both ends here over the VPN, we have the ability to sort of hijack TCP and modify it for better performance. We optimize for latency mitigation, packet loss mitigation, and basically are just designed to optimize and give you the best performance you can get over the available connection. So the SD-WAN sets up multiple VPN connections and is able to monitor them to see which ones are currently on a packet by packet basis, the fastest ones. And we can move those packets from one to the other as needed as the situation changes. It also has the ability here, if you're doing a relay type thing, to automatically set up a direct point-to-point VPN connection as required when two locations are trying to talk to each other. And then once the need for that connection is no longer needed, the connection will go down. So on this next slide here, we've got a, there we go. Wasn't animated correcting there, but this is basically taking a look at doing a transfer here. It's a 1.9 gig file. Specifically, it's a Linux distribution. So we transferred it between these two locations. The ping time from one location to the other was 290 milliseconds. There was 0.3% packet loss, 3 millisecond jitter. So by using it over a traditional connection, a traditional VPN, it took 2 hours and 40 minutes to transfer the file, giving us an average speed of 300 kilobits per second. With the WAN, SD-WAN optimization, we were able to reduce the transfer time down to 10 minutes, giving us a average transfer speed of 24 megabits per second. And it gives it here, talking a little bit here about client VPNs and the ability to go ahead and configure them on the device itself. We can generate an email to the user and a script that's run to automatically set up the VPN client. This works on Windows, Macintosh OS, and iOS devices. So now we'll talk a little bit about the NSG series. So the NSG series is a little bit different from our other security gateways. The NSG only works with our Nebula cloud management platform. So instead of directly accessing the device itself to set it up and configure it, everything is done through the cloud, through a centralized web interface. We'll talk a little bit more about Nebula later. So one of the main design cues with Nebula has been about simplifying things and making them easier. So because of that, you lose out on some of the advanced functionality and set policies and stuff like that that you get on the standalone security devices, but gives you easier to use, easier to set up, makes it highly flexible for those of you out there that are looking for something that's easier to just sort of drop in and go and don't need those advanced policy rules. Then we've got the USG series. So these are our standalone UTM focused appliances. So they do offer VPN functionality, but unlike the VPN series, these offer full UTM functionality, and they're optimized for the UTM performance, not the VPN performance. So we offer antivirus, anti-spam, content filtering, IDP, and our application patrol. Device high availability. They've got the built-in wireless LAN controller. And we are just starting to roll out here this month our USG Flex series. So the USG Flex series will eventually, I believe, replace both the current USG series and the VPN series. I may be wrong on that, but I believe that's where we're going on this. So USG Flex is designed to give you better performance than the current existing USG models. And in the future, they will have the flexibility to be managed via Nebula or used in standalone mode. Right now, we're targeting Q4 of this year for the Nebula functionality to be added. So firewall performance over existing models should give you a 125% increase. When it comes to UTM performance, you're getting up to a 500% increase over the existing models. So we've made it easy for you here to migrate from an existing USG and upgrade your customer to a new higher performance USG Flex models. So one of the things that happens is as you replace your old model to the new model, we will go ahead and roll over those services that you currently have active on the existing USG, and we will roll those over to the new USG Flex model. We'll take a look at how much time you have left on the different services, and we'll automatically upgrade all services to whichever service has the most amount of time. So in this case, web filtering had 7 months left on the subscription. So all services are automatically given 7 months of service on the new USG Flex when you migrate over to it. In addition, most USG Flex models are going to come bundled with 1 year of service also out of the box. So that will be added on top of, in this case, the 7 months that we're rolling over from the previous model that was being replaced. So you can see here, the USG 40 and 40W will become the new 100 and 100W. The 60s will upgrade to the USG Flex 200. The USG 110 to the 500, as well as the 210 to the 500, and the current USG 310 will be upgraded to the 700 model when that becomes available. So the USGs are not going away anytime soon. The old models will still be here, so if you're more comfortable with them, they'll be around for many, many more months. But in general, we'll eventually be moving to just the USG Flexes and the ATP series. So the ATP series, these are our sandboxing firewalls. So these are designed specifically to deal with zero-day type exploits. So instead of using a series of signatures to recognize various threats that are updated, once a week, once a month, instead what we do is we monitor any sort of traffic that comes through, and any traffic that is unrecognized will get captured, automatically uploaded to the cloud, where they will be put through a sandboxing environment to simulate various different configurations to determine what these new unknown behaviors are. And then we will determine if they are good or bad. And then every ATP deployed out in the field will automatically get an update with whatever we have found, good or bad, on these different types of behavior. So because of this, it allows us to find threats long before other traditional UTM services will have found them and been upgraded to be able to recognize them. This is just kind of showing here, this is the typical traffic that you have coming through. You see here in the middle section here, you've got stuff that you know is bad, thanks to signature files. You've got stuff you know is good, and then you've got stuff here that you don't know. So it's this stuff that's unknown that's automatically recognized, sandboxed, and sent up into the cloud for machine intelligence or AI to evaluate what's going on. And again, all ATPs are linked together, so as soon as one device encounters a new bit of traffic, it will be sent up to the cloud, and then all devices will be upgraded to know what that is so they can recognize it. So on the monitoring side of things and deployment side of things, we've got a number of different software solutions out there. The main one I'm going to be talking about today is our SecuReporter. So SecuReporter is a tool that we have out here to provide analysis and visualization of what's going on in each of your customers' security firewall. So you can take sort of a proactive approach to what's going on. You can reach out to your customer and provide them with reports to show, hey, look, your UTM subscriptions, these are what they blocked this week or this month, et cetera. So you can show them the value of those UTM services. So when it comes time to renew them, the customer recognizes the value of them. So with SecuReporter, everything is managed. So all your customers are visible in one single cloud platform. Everything's there in one interface. You can customize the reports, you can add your own branding to them, and you can have them scheduled to go out at periodic times, either to yourself, your support team, or to your customers. So that's it for security appliances. I know it's a lot of different series, a lot of different information there. Again, if you want some more information, reach out to your salesperson. Also keep an eye on our upcoming presentations. We've got, like, for instance, a much more in-depth USG Flex presentation that we'll be doing. So now we'll talk a little bit more about Nebula. The idea behind Nebula is to make everything simpler, easier to configure, easier to set up. So one of the first things you can do here is you can start setting up your customer site before you even finalize the hardware you're going to buy. Simply log into the Nebula interface, create the new customer, create their new site, and many of the configuration functions are already going to be there. Once the hardware has been shipped to you, you simply need to scan a QR code that you find on the outside of the box and assign it to the customer. And once it's been assigned, it's fully configurable, even if you haven't removed it from the box and plugged it in. Once you plug it in, it gets power and an internet connection. It will reach out to the cloud. It will download the latest minimum firmware that it needs, and it will automatically download the configuration for the customer it's been assigned to. So the whole setup process can be done, including configuring Wi-Fi, including a guest splash page, from setting up your Nebula account to having that up and running in less than 5 minutes. So for Nebula to work, it's hosted in AWS cloud. We maintain and manage it there. So the only thing you need to do is plug the equipment in. There are no cloud keys. There are no local controllers. There's no VPNs that need to be set up. Everything is ready to go. And once it's been there, everything is managed through the cloud, through our web interface. Simply visit nebula.zyxel.com. All of your customers, all of their sites, all of their equipment is manageable through that one web interface. We also do provide a mobile app. It can be used to scan those QR codes in. It can also be used to keep an eye on the networks and provide some basic wireless configuration. So on the wireless side of things with Nebula, all of our APs, or almost all of our APs, support smart mesh. Basically, if something happens to the wired connection, APs will automatically switch to a mesh mode and generate a mesh back to another access point that they can reach that does have a currently working wired connection. We support full WPA enterprise security, and our new Wi-Fi 6 AP support the new WPA3 enterprise and WPA3 PSK modes. And we support all the standard roaming, 802.11r, KV, for fast roaming and intelligent management of your clients. On the switch side of things, we offer intelligent PoE, where we can do the dynamic allocation of PoE budget based on the current demand of the connected devices. We have the ability to set up easy ACL rules, VLAN configuration, loop guard, DHCP server guard, etc. And all of the switches virtually stack, so you can configure ports across multiple devices simultaneously as if they were all one big switch. And again, as mentioned earlier, all of your clients show up in this one interface. You don't have to keep track of different login information for each individual client. So this is showing you the interface when you log into Nebula. You get this dashboard here, shows you what's going on in your customer's network, how many APs are online, how heavily they're loaded, PoE utilization versus budget, how many clients are connected, et cetera, et cetera. And these columns across the top there, those are all fully customizable as to which tiles you want to see when you log in. When you're using our gateway, we'll let you know where the bandwidth is going, both based on user basis as well as application basis. So we'll tell you which applications are using your bandwidth. Is it YouTube? Is it iTunes? Is it BitTorrent? We'll let you know. And then you see across the top of the screen there, we make it really easy to jump between clients. We've got pull down menus. You can choose, you can group your clients together and choose from groups. You can use the pull down to jump individually between customers or jump between sites really easily. This is just showing you here. It can show you your client devices, which ones are currently connected, have been connected, and you can customize the information that's visible here, signal strength, last time you've seen them, et cetera, et cetera. Similar sort of reports here on the wired side of things, letting you know the connected devices and bandwidth utilization. And Nebula is free. So when you're looking at products, we have some products that are designed specifically for Nebula, the NSG security gateways, the NAP access points, the NSW switches. You will also see a large number of our devices marketed as Nebula Flex or Nebula Flex Pro. Those devices can be used the traditional way, or you can choose to use them in Nebula, either way. So we do have a live demo out there. If you'd like to play with it, just go to nebula.zyxel.com. The demo account credentials should be visible there on the screen, and you can log in and start playing with it. Okay, we'll start talking a little bit now about wireless in general. So we've got something that you'll see on a few of our models called dual optimized antenna. Basically, your traditional access point is designed to be mounted hanging from its stomach up on the ceiling in the center of the room, which is great for most deployments, but there are times when you cannot put the AP on the ceiling for one reason or another, and you have to mount it on the wall. The problem with that is the antenna pattern is not optimized for that type of environment, and it hurts their coverage. So these products that we have that have a dual optimized antenna, we have the ability to switch between antenna patterns. So we have one set of antennas for ceiling mount and one set of antennas for wall mount, and you can switch between those as you install them. There is both a physical switch on the device. It can also be managed through software. The other interesting technology we have is called smart antenna. So smart antenna is designed to increase capacity, both the number of users that can be connected to the AP at one time, as well as the number of APs that can be operating in the same environment. It's designed to reduce interference, increase the coverage area, so you get a larger coverage area, and reduce power consumption. So again, this is your traditional access point. It's designed to be mounted on the ceiling. You've got this sort of umbrella pattern radiating out from it for coverage. If you have a directional antenna, it's usually got a fixed antenna pattern focusing the beam in a certain way. So this is just showing here, here's your traditional ceiling mount access point. And we've got, in this case, a microwave that's generating RF interference. That's going to interfere with the signal quality of connected devices. So smart antenna does something a little bit differently. With smart antenna, we have the ability to change between hundreds of different antenna configurations. And we do this on a per client basis. So each client will use whichever antenna pattern is best for them. And what we do is we take a look at where the client is in relationship to the access point, but also we look at where other sources of RF interference are coming from. And we adjust the antenna pattern not only to maximize the signal going to the client, but to minimize how much attention we pay to these other sources of RF interference. So you can see here on the little animation, we end up choosing an antenna pattern that basically ignores the noise coming from the microwave. So this affects any sort of RF interference, other access points, other wireless devices, industrial equipment, etc. So a couple years back, the University of Brescia in Italy, their networking group, got together and decided to test the claims made by us and Ruckus about smart antenna, and compared us to Cisco and Aruba, who do not offer smart antenna. And they did their own independent analysis. Our smart antenna implementation performed up to 70% better in code channel interference environments against non-smart antenna access points. And against Cisco, it was up to 56% better and up to 45% better than Ruckus and their smart antenna. I believe they were using the Ruckus R700 or R710 in that test. So all of our access points are designed for longevity and performance. So if you grab one of our access points and grab somebody else's, it doesn't matter if it's a cheap, inexpensive Ubiquiti or a very expensive Ruckus. Hold theirs in your hand, hold ours in your hand, and you'll notice ours feels a lot more substantial. And there's a reason for that. That's what we're spending a little extra money on the design for better performance and better longevity. So when dealing with solid state components, the two main sources of failure are heat fatigue and capacitor failure. So we've built a very large heat sink essentially that goes on the back of the AP and touches directly to the back of the PCBA, which is designed to draw heat off the PCBA, off those chips, and then vent them out the copious vent holes we have on the top of our units. So that helps us for heat fatigue. You will also see that all of the capacitors we use are solid state capacitors. We do not use any electrolytic or other capacitors, which tend to be prone to failure. So again, that helps us offer that lifetime warranty. And then on the performance side of things, some other things we've done is we put more shielding on the components than you will generally find on our competitors. That just helps us a little bit with EMI. The other thing we do is we do not mount the antennas directly to the PCBA like most of our competitors. Instead, we put the antenna on its own shield, which is mounted above the PCBA. So that gives it just that much better isolation, that much better signal to noise ratio. I do want to talk a little bit here about Wi-Fi 6. So today we have the WAC 650S. This is available now. This is a 4x4 high performance access point. It has a 5 gig Ethernet connection to maximize performance over the Wi-Fi 6. We have a dedicated radio that's designed for scanning the environment, and we have Bluetooth built in on it. So this comes with 1 year of Nebula Pro out of the box. It can also be used standalone or managed through one of our controllers or gateways. Coming out here in probably July, we may get them here at the end of June. I don't know if they'll be ready in time or not. We'll have 2 new models. We'll have a low-end model, the NWA 110AX, and a slightly higher-end version of it here with dual optimized antenna, the WAX 510D. And then in probably August, we will have 2 more models. So by August here, we should have 6 new models, all offering various flexibility configurations here on Wi-Fi 6, from the low end all the way up to the high end. And then we've got some more stuff coming later in the year as well. Eventually here, just about everything's going to be Wi-Fi 6 available. And then just to highlight here, the VPN series, the USG series, the ATP series, and the new USG Flex all offer the ability to provide wireless LAN management of our 5000 series and higher access points. On to switches. We've got a lot of switches, a lot of switches. So I want to go over here some of the naming rules. So when you're looking at our website or you're looking at the price sheet that we send you, you can give a sort of a quick idea of what's going on with that switch based on the model number. So the first thing is the prefix. ES switches are only fast Ethernet. GS switches are gigabit switches. XS switches are 10 gig switches, so all ports will have 10 gigs on them. It could be multi-gig. And then the XGS series tells you that most ports are 1 gig, but there are 10 gig ports that can be used for uplink ports. And then the MGSs are metro switches, such as our MGS 3700. So that's the prefix side of things. On the suffix of them, if you see P, it tells you it's 802.3 AF PoE. Most switches now are going to say HP. So those will either be AT or BT PoE devices. So AT is power up to 30 watts per port. BT is power up to 60 watts per port. And then if you see an F on there, it tells you the switch that all or most ports are fiber switches or fiber ports. We offer a sort of virtual stacking. So if you're looking to configure multiple ports at the same time, any of our Nebula Flex switches in Nebula mode, you can do virtual stacking. And some of our other higher end models, even without Nebula, allow you to do virtual stacking. And we do have some models that offer dedicated 10 gig fiber DAC ports to do actual stacking if you need that. So we offer, I think I already talked on this, PoE 802.3 AF, PoE Plus, and PoE Plus Plus, which is the BT standard for up to 60 watts. So most of our switches, I believe everything 1900 and higher, for sure everything 1920 and higher, offers intelligent PoE management. And we've got a slide coming up here that explains why that's a good thing to do. The ability to control PoE on a port basis and provide scheduling of power. So you can turn off devices when no one's there and save energy. So this is showing you an example here. The official 802.3 PoE standards use a classification system. And there's some big jumps in classification. So if your device says, hey, I'm a class 3 device, a standard PoE switch would reserve 15 watts of power for that device. The next step, class 4, reserves 30 watts of power, right? So almost double. But a lot of devices fall in this sort of in-between area where they need more than 15 watts, but they don't need anywhere close to all 30. So by doing intelligent PoE management or consumption mode, we can look at the devices, see how much power they actually need, and only allocate that power. So you can see in this type of situation where you've got a device that requires 16 watts, you can nearly double the number of devices that your switch can power on the same budget. And this is just showing here, we've got, no matter what sort of PoE budget you need, we have devices, everything from 60 watts of power all the way up to a full kilowatt of power available on our switches. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we talked before, I was telling you about the prefix and the suffix. The other number to pay attention to is basically the first two digits here in the model number. These first two digits are telling you what series of product is. And then the next two digits here, these are usually 0, then there's usually a dash and how many ports. And when we count ports, we're including all the regular ports plus all the uplink ports. So if you look at our models, you will see instead of a 24 port switch, we'll call it a 28 port switch because it's 28 or 24 regular ports plus 4 uplink ports. But anyway, the 1000 series here are unmanaged SOHO switches. The 1100 series are also unmanaged, but they're a little bit more heavy duty, more for a, sort of a data center or server closet type experience. 1200 series are SOHO web managed switches. The XGS 1010, again, are unmanaged SOHO switches, but the XGS tells you that these switches support 10 gig uplinks. Go up to the 1900 series. These are our sort of entry-level business class web managed switches. We have the XS 1920 series, which offer a little bit more functionality as far as the web management goes. And of course, the XS here is telling you these are 10 gig switches. We have the GS 1920 V2 series. So these are essentially a full layer 2 series switch, but they do not have a command line interface. These can be managed with Nebula. The XGS 1930 series, the XGS tells you that we support 10 gig uplinks. It's also Nebula Flex. The XS 1930, again, these digits here tell you that this is 10 gig only. Otherwise, all three of them offer similar functionality as far as the web GUI for management. We have the NSW series switches, which are only used with Nebula. And then our GS 2210 series switches. So these are our true layer 2 switch. So these offer the full web interface, but they also offer a command line interface. So for those of you that like command line interfaces, you like doing scripting and automation and things like that, 2200 series and higher include the command line interface. And again, the main difference here between the GS 2210 and the XGS 2210 is this prefix. So the XGS is telling you there's 10 gig uplinks on it. So just introducing now-ish are our GS 2220 series. Eventually the 2210s will be phased out and the 2220s will be the replacement for them. So these are just the latest version of them. We've updated the chipset that we're using. We've added Nebula Flex Pro to them. We've added some new LED lights on them, made them a little bit more optimal as far as energy utilization goes. So the GS 2220s, I believe, are rolling out this month, but the 2210s will be around for a few more months. They're just showing you here how the replacement models are going to work. So eventually both the NSW series and the 2210s will be phased out to be replaced by the 2220s. We also have a series I haven't talked about yet, which is our switches that are designed for surveillance. These are our 1300 series and our 1350 series. So these were custom made and designed to just sort of meet the challenges of IP surveillance devices. So people are looking for low cost, they need the switch to stay online, and they need to run power for a really great distance. So the 1300 series are our unmanaged models. The 1350 series are our managed models. So one of the cool things we can do here is we can run 10 megabit Ethernet up to 250 meters from the switch. It works on any device, so you don't need something special on the other side. As long as you're using one of our switches, you can run Ethernet and provide Ethernet up to 250 meters instead of the standard 100 meters. Here are our 1350 web managed switches. These do have CLI also. And the 6 HP here offers BT power. So this can provide 60 watts of power on a single port. We have the ability to do continuous PoE. So if the switch needs to reboot for some reason, whether it's a configuration change, a firmware update, whatever it happens to be, we will continue to provide PoE power to the connected devices so the connected device doesn't have to reboot. We have in the web interface on these 1350s the ability to go in, see the status of each connected device, find out the IP address of each connected device. And we have the ability to monitor either using LLDP or using ping to make sure the device is online. If a connected device goes offline, we can automatically power cycle that device to bring it back up. So you can see here, we've got a number of settings on the screen to let you say how often you want to check to see if the device is online or not. How many failures before you reboot the device, and then once the power has been turned back on, how long should you wait before renewing these checks to give the device enough time to power back up and start responding again. These switches also include bulked up surge protection, specifically for electrostatic discharge. So quick summary here, 8 to 24 ports on the unmanaged, 5 to 24 ports on the web managed. And then on the accessory side of things, we do offer SFPs for those fiber ports. We offer 10 gig modules, and we offer some of the DAC cables to connect those together if you're doing stacking. And that concludes today's webinar. I know it was a lot of different products, a lot of information, and I was going fast. Hopefully there were some benefits of that for you, but if you have any questions, go ahead and send them in using the Q&A box. My email is up there on the screen. It is seanr@zyxel.com. Feel free to reach out directly to me with feedback on today's presentation, questions, suggestions for other webinar topics you'd like to see Try, myself, or Marcus present in the future. But otherwise, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it, guys. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. If you were typing something up, highlight it, copy it, and then send it to me in an email, or reach out to your salesperson, Jacob, Ivan, Try, and let them know any questions you have for follow-up. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you turning out today.